update. And we haven't really had a lot to update. But I do want to get into some details because we've been having CBA calls, which is like our player representation in the league. Yep.
And you're directly a part of these, or you get like Spark Notes?
No, you are directly a part of these. Okay. So you have like so many different executive boards and like our exec meets, there's like player reps, there's CBA reps.
The fastest way to bring down a billion-dollar empire is when middle management starts believing they're the board of directors. The moment the supporting cast convinces itself that it's the real engine behind the revenue, the entire financial structure begins to wobble. And right now, many critics say that's exactly what's happening inside the Women's National Basketball Players Association. What we're witnessing, according to some analysts, is one of the most public and controversial labor standoffs in modern sports. And the most troubling part? The players pushing the hardest may ultimately be the ones with the most to lose. Welcome to the breakdown. Grab your popcorn. In this segment, we're diving into the heated debate surrounding Sophie Cunningham. We'll examine the intense negotiating battle between players and ownership groups, explore the controversial open the books demand, and explain why some observers believe many locker rooms are disconnected from the financial realities of the Caitlin Clark era. To understand the scale of the controversy, look at where the comments came from. Cunningham isn't a union executive or a high-profile labor strategist. She's a respected veteran role player for the Indiana Fever, sharing the court with Clark herself. That puts her right in the middle of what many call the biggest economic surge in women's basketball history. She's seen the sold-out arenas. She's witnessed the surge in sponsorship deals and national attention. She's watched the league land a media rights agreement reportedly worth billions of dollars. In other words, she has a front-row seat to the unprecedented momentum currently surrounding the Women's National Basketball Association. But instead of staying quiet, Cunningham recently spoke on a public podcast about the union's negotiating strategy. She attempted to break down the latest proposal from the league's ownership groups and discuss the financial direction of the negotiations. In doing so, her comments sparked intense debate across the basketball world. Some analysts argue that her remarks unintentionally revealed confusion about the financial structure of the league and the realities of the ongoing negotiations. So listen closely as Cunningham explains the latest proposal reportedly put forward by ownership. Pay attention to the numbers, and especially to her reaction, because many commentators believe that moment perfectly illustrates the widening gap between expectations inside the locker room and the financial realities shaping the future of the Women's National Basketball Association.
10 p.m. And they came back and...
According to Sophie Cunningham, the league's latest response barely moved the needle. The revenue-sharing structure stayed exactly the same, and the only noticeable adjustment was a tiny increase to the salary cap, roughly $50,000 to $100,000. For critics watching the negotiations unfold, that kind of response doesn't look like meaningful bargaining. Instead, it feels more like a calculated signal from ownership. When billionaires respond to a major financial demand with such a small adjustment, the message many analysts interpret is clear: negotiations may be reaching their limit. Ownership groups in the Women's National Basketball Association understand leverage. A minimal counteroffer can sometimes function as a statement, an indication that they're unwilling to dramatically change the financial structure being requested. From their perspective, it shows they acknowledge the proposal without committing to major concessions. However, Cunningham's reaction during the discussion suggested frustration rather than alarm. She spoke about the change as if it were simply another step in the back-and-forth process, not necessarily a signal that ownership had drawn a firm line. The conversation then shifted to the core issue driving the entire dispute: revenue sharing. The Women's National Basketball Players Association has reportedly pushed for a much larger share of league revenue, something closer to a 50-50 split similar to the structure used in the National Basketball Association. That demand reflects a broader argument from players. If the league's visibility, TV deals, and sponsorships are growing rapidly, especially during the surge of attention surrounding stars like Caitlin Clark, then players believe they should receive a much larger portion of the financial upside. But critics argue that mirroring the NBA's financial structure isn't simple. The economics of the two leagues are dramatically different, and ownership groups often point to those differences when resisting a full 50-50 model. The result is a growing disconnect between expectations on the player's side and the financial framework ownership believes is sustainable. And that tension is exactly what's fueling one of the most heated labor debates the Women's National Basketball Association has ever faced.
Like that's more ticket sales, that's more games, that's more people spending money.
Yeah.
And so in our negotiating now, if we signed it, we will never see more than not even close to 16% of revenue share. And that's
Man, the thing is, bro.
If we agree to this deal, the player's share of league revenue could remain capped at around 16%. And that single number is what has many people inside the union deeply concerned. To someone watching from the outside, 16% might sound incredibly small. But in the high-stakes world of professional sports finance, even that slice of a rapidly growing league can represent a massive amount of money. Especially now that the Women's National Basketball Association is seeing unprecedented attention and new revenue streams. The tension comes from a bigger economic question. Many players want a system that mirrors the structure used in the National Basketball Association, where athletes receive roughly half of the league's basketball-related revenue. But the infrastructure between the two leagues is still very different. The NBA runs 82-game seasons, fills arenas that often seat 18,000 to 20,000 fans, and generates enormous income from luxury suites, local media deals, and corporate sponsorships. By comparison, WNBA teams play 40-game seasons, and many venues are significantly smaller. That difference in scale affects everything, from ticket revenue to sponsorship value. At the same time, the league has experienced a major surge in attention over the past year, largely driven by the arrival of superstar rookie Caitlin Clark. Her games have drawn huge television audiences, sold-out arenas, and massive media coverage. Many analysts believe that her presence helped accelerate new broadcast deals and expand the league's visibility almost overnight. That surge has created a complicated dynamic. Some veteran players believe the moment should be used to push for a dramatically larger revenue share. Others argue that the league's financial structure is still evolving and that comparing it directly to the NBA may not reflect the current reality. Meanwhile, fans are watching the debate closely. The players' union wants public support as negotiations continue, but the conversation around salaries, revenue splits, and league economics has become increasingly heated online. And that's where the public relations battle begins. Statements made in interviews and podcasts, especially by players like Sophie Cunningham, are now being scrutinized heavily by fans, media, and analysts, all trying to decide whether the players' demands match the current economic reality of the league.
That's what I'm saying. So like as of right now, maybe it's going to get delayed. At the end of the day, we just want to get treated like professional athletes. And I think we've made a lot of great, just like our travel is better. Where we stay is better. Like we have made a lot of...
At the end of the day, the message from the players is simple. They want to be treated like true professional athletes. They point to improvements already made, better travel arrangements, improved accommodations, and overall working conditions that are steadily evolving. But this is where the debate becomes intense. Critics argue that many of those professional standards are already beginning to take shape within the Women's National Basketball Association. Players today are negotiating contracts that can reach six-figure salaries, something that was far less common in earlier eras of the league. Teams are increasingly providing high-quality housing in major cities, upgraded travel logistics, and more comfortable accommodations on the road. In recent seasons, the league has also begun implementing charter flights, a long-requested change meant to reduce the physical strain of constant commercial travel. For supporters of the current system, these developments represent major progress and evidence that the league is moving toward a stronger professional standard. They see the current collective bargaining discussions as part of that ongoing evolution. At the same time, many players believe the rapid growth of the league, especially with the surge in attention surrounding stars like Caitlin Clark, means the next agreement should go even further. From their perspective, the improvements so far are only the beginning of what a modern professional league should provide. That difference in perspective, whether the league is already delivering professional-level conditions or still catching up, is one of the core tensions driving the current negotiations across the WNBA.